Hey, it's Jack, and the biggest news in the U.S. over the last 48 hours or so has been the hurricane, but this video is not about the hurricane. Having said that, I do have a lot of friends and family in Florida, from Fort Myers, Daytona, Jacksonville, and I'm very concerned about and for them. And you may as well have friends and family down there, and I just hope and pray that they get out of this in one piece. All right, having said that, let's talk about Europe, because really I think the biggest strategic story over the last 2 or 3 days has been the, what do we want to call it, malicious destruction of the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines. Now, if you had not followed this because you have been busy watching hurricane porn, I wouldn't blame you. I mean, the hurricane story has been everywhere. But somebody or some entity on Monday somehow, how do we want to say this, damaged the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2 pipelines that flow from Russia to Germany, delivering natural gas. Now, quick caveat here, very important. Neither of these are functionally operational at the time because of, effectively, the war in Ukraine. So, let's just take up and pull up a quick diagram of what these pipelines look like and where the damage occurred. So here you go, here with the diagram you've seen all over the internet. I borrowed it from this guy's Substack. I'm not endorsing his theory of the crime, so to speak, as you can see in the headline. But let's look at the diagram. The red solid and the red dotted are Nord Stream 1 and 2 coming from Russia over to Germany. And I want to just point out very quickly that blue line that terminates in Poland but runs through Denmark there. That actually runs all the way from Norway to Poland. That's a new pipeline that has just opened up. And Norway is now, I believe, the number one producer of oil or petroleum, natural gas, whatever you want to call it, in Western Europe. So that's an important pipeline. We'll talk about that in this video. But there's your diagram, just to kind of see it's at the intersection, so to speak, in the Baltic Sea between Poland, Germany, and Sweden. So the next question is obviously who did it and why? Two questions, I guess. And let me first tell you that in any time in the near future, from a way that we could operationally respond to this, we're never going to find out. Because everyone that's involved is always going to say it was the other guy, right? You know, Russia's going to blame the U.S. is going to blame Russia. You know how that's going to go. And we'll never actually know, maybe not for years from now, how this actually occurred. And if some... Let me just throw it out to you. If some type of answer comes out in the next 3 or 4 days that it was, XYZ country, let me just say that I am going to be incredibly suspicious of that conclusion right off the bat. I don't think it will be at least weeks until we get a logical conclusion, and I don't really think, given the war situation that we have in Europe effectively, that we'll never really know for years to come. Why does that matter? Because, well, obviously, in a war, truth is the first casualty. Then what conclusions can we bring from that? Because I don't want to go down the road that you see all over the internet that it was Russia for this reason, and it was obviously not Russia for that reason, and it was the U.S. for this reason, and not the U.S. for... Or Poland. Poland and Norway most certainly have a motive because now they're one of the biggest energy hubs in Europe. But then there's also great arguments to say it wasn't Poland and wasn't Norway. So let's not go down that road. Let's take the bigger picture and ask ourselves, what does this mean going forward, regardless who did it? And the simple fact of the matter is, if you ask yourself today, are we closer to peace or closer to an all-out war in Europe / Ukraine? The only conclusion that you can really make is that we are absolutely positively much closer to all-out war. You'll remember that the big news last week, if you're an American and have memory that goes back to last week, was Putin Putin, how should I say, rattling the nuclear saber, right? He was like, we'll do what we need to do. And if this news of these 3 separate locations where the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 were sabotaged effectively, so coordinated attack in 3 different locations under the sea level, everyone is going to try to spin that for their own purposes and to use it in a war, because that's what it's done, propaganda, for their own excuse to do the next thing, which is strategically advantageous to them. And it doesn't seem as if anybody is working towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukrainian situation. That's quite worrisome. Most certainly, if we can just take a look at the German-Russian relationship, it seems as if we are much farther away from any type of reapproachment. Is that how you pronounce that? In order to allow Germany and Russia to once again be, frenemies, and once again have natural gas. I should say, if I mispronounced earlier, that these are natural gas pipelines. I may have thrown in the word oil. Forgive me. Natural gas. If these are, how soon Russia can then because peace breaks out, Russia actually sends natural gas to its frenemy Germany. That seems much, much, much farther in the distance than it did Monday morning. And that is not good for the outcome of peace in Europe or here in America, or certainly in the short term, your pocketbook in America, of which is most certainly, this is an economic war, both at here and in Europe, especially as winter sets in. Hey, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. Here in beautiful America's hometown, Plymouth, Massachusetts. Behind enemy lines. Talk to you next time.